Welcome back everyone to another Kings of War Tournament report. I'm Visibly Riley, and today we will finish up my coverage of Cascade Clash, an event I went to in Portland, Oregon. After the Ogres' crushing defeat against the Trident Realms in Game 4, I found myself facing off against Aiden and his Elves. Now, Aiden, interestingly enough, I believe had 15 points in his first game, 5 points in his second game, and a 2-10-10 ties after that, so he was in the dead center. So, you know, take what you can get, I guess, with how my tournament's been going so far. But I was happy to play him, as Aiden's someone that I've known for a few years now, as we played 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy together, and in fact he was on a podcast called Dimensional Cascade, so I'm glad to see he's making the change towards Kings of War. But we've actually played very few games against each other, so I actually really relish the moment to get into him, especially as I don't think I've ever seen him play anything but Elves. Anyway, here's the beginning of his list. This isn't exactly right, but it's close enough. Again, no allies, bit of a theme this time. So we start off with a horde of kindred archers with the ubiquitous heart-seeking chant, then a troop of palace guard, 2 troops of hunters of the wild, 2 hordes of forest shamblers, a regiment of stormwind cav with caterpillar potion, a horde of dragon riders, a BSB with the loot of insatiable darkness, the Dragon Kindred Lord, and I believe this is a mistake I made here, where I think he has the boots of levitation on the Dragon Kindred. In fact, I'm almost certain of it. And then lastly, a tree herder. This list seems pretty average to me. This is, I mean, again, I'm still sort of in that Warhammer mode in my head, so this just kind of looks like an elf list to me, and I think that's sort of what Aiden had here, which is he's just using mostly the models he already had. So anyway, moving on to the game. So Ogres win turn 1, and unfortunately, this is the end of the event. Both of us are pretty worn down, and in fact, the sinus infection I had been developing this weekend really started kicking in by game 5, so I was a little out of it, so bear with me here. Ogres win the roll-off for turn 1 and just advance, and to go through my deployment here, we had the Ogre Warriors right there on the left behind the wood. Behind them is Grok. Then behind the wall we have Grok's Finest. Then the 3 regiments of Braves, always moving forward, with the 2 regular Warlocks with Drain Life. The Banner of the Griffin guy is up there on the hill. The Loot of Insatiable Darkness is down there to the right. And right there on that hill, I have both my Goblin Big Gits slightly on it to mess with that Archer Horde next turn. And then the 2 Boomer Hordes are bringing up the rear on the right, slightly off frame. I think, yeah, Nomar's also over there to inspire the Boomer Hordes. It's interesting, when I first started playing this army, my idea was that Grok would go with the Boomers, right? But over time, it's just sort of developed that he's better off running around with the Warriors or with the Braves, and Nomar, who gets a lot of benefit from being with the Braves, actually is a little bit better off either being with the Boomers or inspiring the Warriors, depending. So, live and learn, I guess. Here we do see the Elf deployment, though. Such a small army, it's pretty easy to capture in one picture. So we have, starting from left to right, these Stormwind Knights. Then next to them is obviously the Dragon. Then we have both of the hordes of Shamblers. Between them is the Tree Herder, and behind them, those Dryad models, those are the Hunters of the Wild troops. So to the right of them, we've got the horde of Draken Riders. Those are those Eagles and some Cav models. In front of them, the troop of Palace Guard, and to the right, finally, we have the horde of Archers. Oh, I did miss, that's his BSB right there, obviously behind the troop of Palace Guard. Yeah, with my turn 1, I end up getting a couple wounds. I got 3 wounds with a lightning bolt from my Banner of the Griffin guy, but unfortunately, with the way I moved that aggressive Brave unit to the front, the guy with the loot actually can't see the Palace Guard with his lightning bolt, so instead I just try to put a pip wound onto the archers to see if I can roll that boxcar, which I do not. Neither of those units are affected. On Elf turn 1, he moves his dragon over here. Again, he has the Boots of Levitation, so he just runs over. He's going to breathe on the warriors, I believe. And then otherwise just moves over to this forest. Oh, let's roll a picture back for a second. Apparently Aiden had forgotten that Forest Shamblers have Vanguard for the second second game in a row here. I'm also not too clear on every unit's rules, as I've just been jumping around a bit too much. But we were playing a pretty friendly game at this point. I probably would have let him move if he had made more of a stink about it, but I don't think either of us really cared. So, yeah, that's why they're so far back. Anyway, he does move them forward here to move up behind this forest, and yeah, I guess the idea is, don't get charged by the warriors, but even if I sent my warriors into this forest, they'd get a hindered charge, and then I would be charged by 8 million elves, so I'm not sure exactly what the point of taking cover in this forest is. Excuse me. Here we see the remnants of Ogre. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I did forget that on his turn 1, he does end up getting a boxcar roll to with the loot to give piercing to the archers, but then they only do 8 wounds to the Braves unit in the front and don't actually kill them, so that's pretty irrelevant. He does end up sending the Draken Riders, as you can see, into my regiment of Braves a little behind with the 2 Warlocks. This is absolutely fine with me. I can flank charge him with my Braves on the right there if he doesn't turn to face them, and if he does turn to face them, then Grok will charge him in the flank. So sort of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. And then the Warlock is blocking him from being able to really advance past them. So yeah, finally I got my placement right for this this sweet countercharge, so kudos me. He easily blows through that regiment of Braves with the Draken Riders, and we move on. Here we see the beginning of Ogre turn 2, which is my Braves have... Oh, hold on, let's roll back. This is actually telling a little bit more. So Ogre turn 2 begins here, and I end up sending those Braves on the far right. Yeah, oh yeah, the Draken Riders obviously kill them. The Braves on the far right get a flank charge into the Draken Riders, while the Braves right next to them end up charging those Palace Guard that have 3 wounds on them. The Goblin Big Git, or at least one of the Goblin Big Gits on that hill, charges the archers to just try to slap a wound on them to disorder. And otherwise, I just sort of advance forward. I take the wall with Grok's Finest, move Grok into that gap between the warriors and Grok's Finest to make it so the dragon can't charge him. He can charge the warriors in the flank, I think. I don't think I turn to face him, because I don't... sort of daring him to try, but I can't be seen by the Cav or any of these guys, so I guess he could shamble into me, but that's fine. Yeah, here we see a bit of the aftermath. I do end up killing that troop of Palace Guard with my Braves who had taken 8 wounds, so I'm pretty okay with that. Obviously, with double piercing, or piercing 2 archers, you expect to, maybe do a bit more damage to the Braves, so I think he was just trying to... He just didn't expect them to live, so that's unfortunate for him. But I turn back towards the battle. And here we see, the Braves that charged into the flank of the Draken Riders. I try to get Nomar over there to, give them an additional additional crushing and vicious. I fail the roll, which is unfortunate for me. But then the Braves just roll out the box and wreck those Draken Riders with a little help from some Drain Life. And that's sort of what Braves do. They have a high variance because of their high number of attacks, but their low hit value. So, sometimes they just wreck things. Happens. Here we can see the beginning of Elf turn 2 as he's moving that horde of Forest Shamblers into charge Grok's Finest along with his Tree Herder there. And here, we see that the dragon charges the warriors in the flank, and then he sends some Hunters of the Wild who can now see my warriors through a little gap around the woods into their front. This is unfortunate. I didn't realize that the Hunters could see me, so that's a bit of a mistake on my part. Actually, let's roll it back. Maybe I'm just being ridiculous. Yeah, no, see, you can see them right there in front of the Shamblers, and they just have the thinnest line to those warriors, so just unfortunate for me. By unfortunate, I mean unfortunate that I'm me, not that, this happened. I did it to myself. So, yeah, he sends the warriors, or he sends the Shamblers and that Tree Herder into the front of my Grok's Finest. And then the warriors are eating a dragon and Hunters of the Wild. The archers countercharge that Goblin Big Git, trying to you know, just slap a couple wounds on him. His nerve isn't all that high, so it's pretty easy. Um, yeah, otherwise he just moves around a bit, shuffles into the woods with his second horde of shamblers and the hunters over there. I'm not sure exactly what he's doing with his cav. I personally probably would have swung them around this forest and then set up for a turn 4 charge, but he's opted to head, I guess, towards the goblin bigots. Not sure on that. Here we can see that the dragon and the hunters do about 15, yeah, they do 15 wounds to the warriors, but unfortunately, Aiden rolls a 3 here and just disorders them, so some pretty bad luck there for him. Yeah, he goes into, with the shamblers and the tree herder, he's behind a wall, so they're both hindered charges, and only ends up putting 8 wounds on Grok's Finest, which the Iron Resolve heals 1 back up. On the beginning of Ogre turn 3, we can see that both the regiments of Braves that are left have charged into the flank of those 4 shamblers that charged Grok's Finest, while Grok's Finest themselves, excuse me, I don't think I'm really going to need them to take down those shamblers, so instead, I just countercharge the tree herder. Grokkagamok, after the warriors back up a little bit, has a pretty easy charge into those hunters of the wild, peeking out from the forest after they fought the warriors, so the idea there is that he can just blow through them and then get in front of the shamblers, or turn to face the dragon, depends on what he wants to do. Yeah, I moved the boomers forward to take aim at the archers. They were behind that hill all along. And the goblin over there has some things he could do. He can charge the archers, but I don't think they're going to live long enough with the boomers. Oh, at least. Or, I guess they could live, but I think I'll get a waiver there, especially as I have a Nomar for backup there if I need it. Yep, just showing off the boomers. Wait, hold on. Let's roll bone. Huh, interesting. That little stick sticking out of the boomer on the bottom left there kind of looks like a paint drop, but yeah, it's just part of his fuse stick. Over here we can see, yeah, it's just a close-up of the combats. I think I threw some lightning bolts into the dragon, but they don't do much. Yeah, this is showing off that Grok flubs his rolls on the hunters. Man, it looks like he still did 10 wounds, so he does, I guess he does pretty well, or at least okay, but the hunters hold, and that's really unfortunate for Grok, because that dragon has an easy flank onto him. I mean, Grok was probably going to die here either way, but I was hoping to at least get some points out of it. Over here we can see that the boomers blow right through those archers. They roll ridiculously high. It's something like 20 wounds, or some ridiculous amount. It was really, really, really high. Good job, boomers. Over here, roll one back. Yeah, Grok's Finest end up bouncing on the tree herder, which is to be expected, but honestly, the part that and then the 2 Braves in the flank of the shamblers just roll right through them. The part that I didn't expect here, which is if we roll over here, yeah, you'll notice that Grok's Finest are gone. And that's because there's a cheeky little charge here where he can get around with his Hunters of the Wild into the flank of my Grok's Finest and the Tree Herder in the front. And even then, I've only taken, I guess I've taken 7 wounds. I was hoping that this Drain Life could get some heal off onto them, but I didn't have any targets. So, yeah, Grok's Finest, again, dead due to bad positioning, in my opinion. And probably yours as well. So, yeah, Grok's Finest are dead. Grok is dead because a dragon in the front and shamblers in the... Or a dragon in the side and shamblers in the front. We don't even get to the shamblers because the dragon alone does 14 wounds. Just rolls right through him. Yep, this is not looking great over here. These warriors are almost dead, and Grok and my 2 main combat blocks are gone, so... The the Brave unit with 8 wounds on them gets charged by the Cavs, so I guess this was their plan all along, and they easily defeat them. Over here, I'm just showing off the next Ogre turn, which is I send the warriors into the dragon, and if we roll one back, my opponent wasn't sure that the warriors could actually see that dragon, as the model is so huge that it's actually hard to tell where my line of sight, actually clips through. But yeah, I can easily see it, and charge into it with these warriors. Over here, we see the rest of the run up, which is yeah, a little out of it tonight. Yeah, the warriors roll into the dragon. They do 11 wounds to him, but can't roll that 6 to waver him. So unfortunately, he's absolutely fine. So I'm about to lose these warriors, but that was gonna happen anyway. Well, I guess not. If I killed the dragon, I could have rolled right past them and then surprised the shamblers in 2 turns. But it was pretty unlikely that these warriors were gonna get it. I did cast with the loot to give them an additional crushing, but even with crush 3, it's only 18 attacks on 3+. Not the greatest odds. Here we can see Elf turn 4, which is he has. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's roll one again. I don't have that many pictures. So the boomers, as you can see them, have moved forward, and they shot at the Stormwind Cav that had charged one of my regiments of Braves and killed them. But yeah, I get the waiver, but nothing more. And then on his turn 4, he sends the Tree Herder into the front of one of the boomer hordes. I'm absolutely fine with that. Boomers, they're tough. They're decent combat. So the other thing that's happened here is that, yeah, the dragon definitely goes into the warriors in the front, and then I think he holds the shamblers back, maybe? Maybe he goes for the flank. I don't think he did. I think he just sat there with the shamblers, so even if he double won the roll here, I can't charge his dragon as it's in the middle of my warriors, and the shamblers won't get flank charged that way, so pretty decent idea, as he doesn't really need that. He doesn't need the shamblers to help his dragon out. Here we can see, yeah, the shamblers end up, or I'm sorry, I guess the shamblers did charge, and they charged these brutes along with the hunters of the wild in the flank. These braves. The braves are definitely not long for the world, nor are those warriors. They have 12 wounds on them right now because I got some drain lives, I think, on the dragon as well, and only landed 3 though. So I healed 3 wounds off of them, but they're still on 12. Here we can see that the Tree Herder ends up doing 4 wounds to my boomers, but he doesn't waver them, so that's good for the boomers. They're going to get a pretty decent countercharge. Yeah, but the dragon easily blows through those warriors, and the shamblers plus the hunters in the wild kill my last unit of braves. So it's just like it is always in my ogre games, which is just warlocks and maybe some boomers versus the world. I end up taking a charge onto the Hunters of the Wild in the flank with my last Red Goblin Big Git. My idea here was that I think they already had a couple wounds on them, or maybe they didn't, but their nerve is so low that I'm just hoping to get a waiver here, because if they're wavered, it actually gums up his line a lot. They can't get past it, and then my idea here was that the boomers that got charged by the Tree Herder will get a counter charge, and then the other boomers will hopefully finish those knights along with Nomar offering some support, and if he's not needed, he can give crushing, and so on and so forth. Here we can see that the boomers, yeah, they don't need support, and they land the kill on those knights on their own, because boomers are straight money. But the, I'm sorry, that tree lady is proving, about as hard as you expect her to be, considering that she's def 16 and I think an 18-20. So yeah, my boomers bounce off. That's not unexpected. My goblin misses all of his attacks because sometimes goblins do that. But I try to land a kill on his dragon as it was sitting on 11 wounds with 2 drain life, and unfortunately I only waver it. But wavered's still better than alive, so I'll take it. Yeah, this is just showing off the bounce. Nice detailing there, if I do say so myself, on the ogres. Yep, just showing off that they bounce and those are dead. Yep, dragon. Okay, here we see Elf turn 5, which is his dragon, now wavered, decides to back up towards the objective. He's not within 3, so I'm not really worried about it. And he's about to eat a lot of drain life and maybe some Nomar hits, so whatever. He countercharges my Goblin Big Git with his Hunters of the Wild, so, again. And then sends the Tree Lady into the front of my boomers. But what he doesn't see is that the other boomers have a pretty easy flank charge, so not sure that was the best idea. His Shamblers back up to take the objective that was in the woods, and his BSB, I think right now he's measuring whether he wants to actually use him as a BSB or just to charge into the boomers. Here we can see that the BSB just goes for the charge and tries to get that one more wound through. Doesn't get it though. He ends up doing 5 with the tree lady, so that's great. But only wavers only wavers them, and yeah, he's about to eat that flank. So unfortunate. Here we can see he put 3 wounds onto the goblin. Doesn't waver him because goblins are built forward tough. And unfortunately, that's the last picture I took. So let's back one up. Yeah, right here, the boomers up there, you know, in the background of the picture. They charge the tree lady right in the flank and kill her. And on my 6, and I actually back the the loot warlock up onto that objective on the hill, and then cast Drain Life with the other one onto the dragon, killing it. I think Nomar threw his support as well. And my red goblin bigot in the middle there countercharges the Hunters of the Wild that had charged him, getting the waiver. And yeah, his turn 6, the Shamblers, which let's try to, yeah, those Shamblers that are right there, they backed up into the woods. He has a charge, which I didn't even see it. I don't know why I'm so bad at this, but yeah, I didn't see this charge from the Shamblers, and he charges off of his objective into one of my Warlocks to make sure it dies. So, you know, he doesn't gain an objective, but I lose one. So, pretty decent idea there. And yeah, that's the end of the game. Unfortunately, we don't get a turn 7. I think if we had a turn 7, I might have had it, as I have 2 hordes of boomers left. I only need to leave Nomar there to hold the objective, and I can just walk them over and fire into these 4 Shamblers along with the Drain Life to grab another objective. But at the end of the game, he has 1 objective, and then I have 1 objective with no contesting. Out of 7 objectives, I have 7 unit strength on 1. Oh no, I have 2 objectives, I'm sorry. So he must have another one somewhere with something. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe the Hunters of the Wild are sitting. Oh, yeah, obviously the Hunters of the Wild are sitting on 1. So that's unfortunate for me. We end up with a tie, and I only have 435 victory points over him. So it's a true tie here. So that's a 10-10, the third one for Aiden, and that ends my tournament journey. Now, my thoughts on the event, or my thoughts on this game in particular, the culmination. I think that this is pretty indicative of what my event, or what the event was as a whole for me, which was a lot of rookie mistakes, and honestly, at best, I can hope for a 10-10 tie. So I thought that was a good way to end, and I hope you guys agree. If you don't, or if you have any comments or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comment box, and thank you for watching.